Sitting quietly in California's Napa Valley, between the beautiful wineries and hot springs, is a dirt track called Calistoga Speedway. First hosting racing 87 years ago in 1937, this incredibly historic half mile is part of the 72-acre Napa County Fairgrounds, which until recently was owned by the Napa County.
The place hasn't run a race since 2019,
but pretty soon that could change. I wanted to find out both why the track is closed and what the chances are of ever seeing racing again at the facility. It's just a 2-hour drive north of San Francisco and directly west of Sacramento. I'm in the Napa Valley right now staying with the Abreus, and I happened to mention to them that I had driven out to the track to check it out. I really just wanted to see what it looks like now because I haven't visited there since 2016. And while I knew that they previously had some involvement in running the place, I didn't know to what extent. I quickly learned that they actually had a major involvement in the track, and it was a story that I can't believe hadn't been told yet. So that's why I'm making this video. I'll make this as short as possible, but Calistoga Speedway is one of the most well-known half-mile dirt tracks in the USA and was certainly the premier half-mile in California, at least. But it became very run down, like more run down than it is now. Except the difference was that they were still racing there. That's when David Abreu, Rico's dad, put his hand up and said, "Hey, I can help out with this place." The Abreu family is from St. Helena, just a scenic 20-minute drive from the Speedway. David certainly isn't one for the spotlight, and you honestly wouldn't even know when he's at the racetrack when Rico's racing. But fortunately for you guys, I managed to get David to talk to camera to find out what did happen at Calistoga. Okay, so just backtracking a little bit. This place was a dangerous wreck. Its fencing was almost non-existent. Check this out. Imagine wrecking on this crazy fast half mile and hitting a tree or landing in the water there. There was bent and broken guardrails. The wall was out of alignment. This is back in the early 2010s, and in a nutshell, it just wasn't good, to say the least. Then David got involved. David told me he spent time at other venues and took measurements to get an idea of what this place really needed. He, along with many others, did a lot. They dug 6 feet down and installed new 4-inch fence posts with 9 rows of cabling and wiring. These posts were each surrounded by a yard of concrete. David took soil samples. He added these huge drains all around so that the track could drain evenly. His team replaced the old flag stand with a solid, nice new one. They screened the surface and removed rocks and so much other junk out of the track. Seriously, could you imagine racing on this? And remember, some of the cars here don't run rock screens either. His team installed new racing lights, and David also tells me he contacted the same people that Knoxville uses, Musco Lighting, and got a quote for $500,000 to replace the track lighting. His son Rico, Kyle Larson, and many others assisted in the rebuild. Here's a cool shot of Rico painting the stands. The Abreus just aren't the sort of people to tell you of all the work that they've done. They replaced all of the PA speakers, they replaced walls by forming up new concrete, and painted them too. That, along with the addition of heavy-duty black cloth that contained both the clay and noise, ensured the track was both safe and appeared professionally. Because of all of this, before long, the people who painted the front stretch stands were the same ones standing in the front stretch victory lane. The place went from looking like a dump to hosting the most premier dirt track series in the USA. Everyone loved Calistoga.
Calistoga Speedway has become home to me and my family. I think what's so special, what people are so fascinated about, is the views that Calistoga Speedway's created, how close it is to town, the access to camping, the events that Calistoga Speedway's built up with the Louis Vermeil Classic, the World of Outlaws competing there, USAC has been there, and NARC puts on good races. The fair was incredible. I always enjoyed going to the fair, the 4th of July parade, tying that all into races that weekend of 4th of July, and I think it's just and it's in wine country. You can't really beat that. People making it a vacation to come to wine country and get to see a race in a beautiful town like Calistoga. So many little boutique shops that people like to go shopping at, and then you can walk right back to the campgrounds and watch a really, really good race.
But not even 6 years after David and his team of people practically rebuilt the place, the track closed in 2019. David had walked away from having any involvement in the track prior to that, and since its closure, he hadn't been back until now.
Pretty sad look here. Jesus, driving range here. The disappointment is everybody knows what I did here along with many others. Rich Stadelhofer was a big part of this, along with Dennis Watson and our group, and God, who else here? There were a number of donors that supplied the post, the netting, the wire, the cable from different sources, and so to put this together was exciting. Gelati Brothers played a major role of GPS in the whole track forming, having controls out here, and then they brought their grader in, and we had a card, and everything was downloaded on that card, and you put it in the grader today, and you're not eyeballing this. It cuts it exactly the way you want to cut it. So we had the first third cut, the second third, and then the third cut. So that was the bottom third of it, and then the middle part, and then the upper portion. And it was exact every time when that was done. It's sad and disappointing. This was owned by the county. There was a lady that had it under a lease, and not a person that gave back to this track or the rest of the property, and which was unfortunate.
There has been attempts to bring racing back to the facility, but in the meantime, it's just sat dormant and once again become run down. The state of the venue has progressively gotten worse. But just earlier this year, the track was sold by the NAPA County to the city of Calistoga.
The county since sold the property to Calistoga, and they have it now. The grounds are unbelievable. I don't think there's anything in Northern California that comes close to a fairgrounds that would give you the views of the eastern Palisade Mountains that are just breathtaking. So to have those grounds and this racetrack on here, pretty special.
So that leaves us with at least a couple of questions, right? Firstly, the obvious one, will we ever see racing again at Calistoga Speedway? And something that I wanted to know, and I'm sure some of you want to know, was will the Abreus ever have involvement again at Calistoga Speedway?
I honestly would love to see it come back. I think they're going to need a lot of funding to get it back in shape. I know the structures are quite behind. The racetrack, obviously, we've seen where it's at right now. But, there's some passionate people out there that could be committed to fixing the place up. It just takes the right people, I think.
The capital it would take to clean this and make it presentable to do any event here. If we could get the right people and the money is going to be major to turn this place around, and again, so it's a property that people would love to come back to.
It's going to take some passionate people to bring not just the Speedway, but Calistoga Fairgrounds back to where it needs to be. They need to get the RV camping back going and start generating some revenue. And I know it takes money to make money, so they got to get the right person in there to manage the whole place.